There have been some issues on the Apple Watch side, and a lot of it is really around models in terms of what they're trying to drive. I view this as just a small bump in the road, but I actually think watch sales this holiday season are going to be up double digits. So I view this as sort of noise relative to the broader story.
And I was informed that you are at the airport. So for our YouTube audience, unfortunately can't see Dan right now, but usually he's got the pastels on. Paul
Yep.
knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
But
he needs some help on the
so we're disappointed there.
wardrobe.
But when you have a stock like this, obviously back around that $3 trillion market cap threshold, trading around records in news like this, kind of break down to us, does it make sense to you? Because you'd think, I mean, the stock's only down, I think, a little more than 1% at this point. Is it just kind of a reason to sell a little bit here?
Yeah, and just in my opinion, this is the start of the next phase of the Apple growth story. Because essentially what's happening now is services is upticking, despite some of the news coming out of China. I saw Bloomberg report it, which is obviously overall headwind. China is actually resilient as overall demand. So when you put it together, I think a year from now, still in pastels, I think we're looking at a $4 trillion market cap.
So, Dan, give us, I don't know, your latest thinking on just China in general, because arguably there is no company in the world that is more exposed positively and potentially negatively to China, both as a customer and as a source of product. How do you break that down for your clients?
Yeah, look, I think, and someone like myself spends so much time in the region, you got to separate between headline risk and what's really happening in the market. I think Huawei and what we've seen in terms of cold tech war between US and China, yeah, it's an issue. But there's 100 million iPhones in China that haven't upgraded in 3 years. So the demand continues to be strong there. And I think when it comes from a production perspective, they'll diversify some into India. But the reality is, next 2, 3 years, I mean, that's not going to significantly change. That is the hearts and lungs of the Apple story, supply and demand.
And Dan, we know you're arguably biggest bull on Wall Street when it comes to technology, but what do you think is the biggest risk to your bull case in the shorter term here?
Look, I think the biggest risk near term is China. It's not the numbers. It's not Fed, despite the poker game. Everyone knows you're gonna have cuts in 24. That I think creates really this Pillsbury Doughboy soft landing. I think it's really the China story. It's the geopolitical, but that's also why a lot of the bears that have been in hibernation mode through all of 2023, they're starting to come out of their caves a little and look at this market because I believe it's the start of this new tech bull market.
Hey, Dan, I guess AI, as we think back to 2023, AI was certainly a theme, the theme, certainly the tech theme. As we look forward to 2024, is there something else out there? What's the theme for 2024 in your mind?
Yeah, Paul, I think it's okay. I think it's really use cases because if you follow the breadcrumbs, follow the use cases, you'll find the treasure. So the use cases are really what's going to drive the next leg of growth for Microsoft, for Google, for what we see with the godfather of AI, NVIDIA and Jensen. And then you have some of the pure plays like Palantir, MongoDB, and others. And I think it's actually a year from now, it's going to be the rest of tech. The rest of tech joins this party. I still view it from a tech party. It's 9:30 p.m. It's not 2 a.m.
Ooh. So walk us through Tesla. You had a note that came out at the end of last week talking about how Tesla battled with unions in Scandinavia, now on the radar for the street. You do have a 12-month price target around $310. Currently trading for Tesla right now, it stocks around $257. Walk us through what you're seeing with Tesla here and what you see moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think when you look at deliveries, feel de-risked for Q4. I think we're seeing a good China number. And I think that's something. There's a stock that's going to probably move higher in the next few weeks, going to deliveries in early January. Now, look, with the union issue, it's a UFC battle, a WWE. I mean, they're starting to see it now in Scandinavia. It was Sweden originally. Now it's gone to Norway, Finland, Denmark. the worry here, you give in here, then UAW, Sean Fain, they watch this carefully. So you can't give an inch, you give a mile. And I think that's why this battle is so important, because I think there's better chance of me playing NFL playoffs than Tesla having union workers.
Wow.
Yes, that's right. Hey, so Dan, one of the things I'm trying to wrap my head around is, again, AI. I guess I'm there. I was, a little bit, I don't know, just cautious, skeptical at the beginning. I guess what would help me get a little bit more on board is I can go back and look at the IDC technology spend over the last, number of years. How much of that going forward incrementally will be AI versus, I don't know, just tech spending growth in general?
Sure. It's a great question. I think actually it's a phenomenal question because it hits the crux here. In 2023, we think less than 1% of budgets were AI. 24, based on our analysis, 8 to 10% of IT budgets will be AI driven.
Wow.
That's why it's the lotto ticket for those companies with the use cases, software, chips, services that go into that market. And I think it's all use case driven. 80 use cases today. 3, 4 months ago, you had less than 20.
We've talked so much, and especially analysts on Wall Street, about the productivity boom potentially when it comes to AI. Walk us through what you think AI skills are and how employees can acquire them.
Well, I was at a conference speaking a few weeks ago, and it was more of an accounting conference. And, there, my suggestion is, for anyone on the account, it's really going to be developer language, whether it's Python or other. I think you're going to see more and more from a developer language perspective starting early, that you're going to see more start and take that over as another skill set. Because if you understand AI in the developer language, as more of these functional areas, finance, marketing, within hospitals, within healthcare, it's going to just from a skill set perspective make you
So
that much more valuable.